Talk. I'm Pixie.
I'm Harrison.
And I'm Snake.
And our main topic today is what Snake ate for dinner. Tell us, Snake.
What I had for dinner?
Yes.
It was a rat.
Oh.
Really big rat. Had to unhinge my jaw and everything. Really painful, really
did the rat
disgusting.
come in a can?
No, not really. It was just free ranging.
I was really hoping for a different answer there, but I guess a rat works too. Nothing wrong with eating a rat.
Because I'm a snake, you know. Do my snake thing and all that, yeah.
Was it a gourmet rodent?
Oh yeah, definitely. I didn't even hear what you said, but I said yes.
The other day.
Sorry, what?
Got to go visit my snake the other day. She's like 2 feet long now. It's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, she's big. Despite the fact that the people currently taking care of her can't seem to get around their heads that she's a female, but no matter.
Did this rat have a brother? And was it a Mexican rat?
I don't really know what you're implying here, Pyro.
I think he's trying to make a Speedy Gonzales joke.
So
even though he was a mouse, so...
Sorry, I'm kind of ruining the joke here, I know.
Anyway, we're kind of rambling. So, movies, games, stuff. What's everybody been doing?
I made a can of beans.
There it was! I was baiting it so hard. I wanted that so bad, and I couldn't get it.
I just wanted to torture him and not to actually say it.
Finally, the release. Sweet release. I saw Wolverine.
Snake and I watched Turbo, and I also played Mirror's Edge, which came out in 2005. So there's that, right? Was it 2005, 2007? It might be 7.
Basically, it was an SNES game, which explains why the first-person shooting is so bad, because, you know, the SNES is not known for that.
Well, the funny thing about Mirror's Edge, it was kind of designed with the idea of you're not supposed to be using guns, so it actually works in favor of the gameplay that the guns handle like crap. Kind
of. It just works counter to the gameplay, the fact that all of the enemies are super OP when they have guns, and you just can't be... I mean, it's realistic that you can't be in the line of fire for 2 seconds without immediately dying, but
it's
also
annoying
not
as a
very
game
fun.
mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
It came out in 2008. I was wrong on both of my guesses.
So it's not quite that old, but close.
So why were you going back to Mirror's Edge, Pixie?
Because I plan to cosplay as Faith Connors, the protagonist, in 2 weeks at Gen Con.
Mm-hmm. And she's going to do an awesome job for it.
I did not realize Faith had a last name.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, shows what you know.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, we're behind
fake
on
geek
it.
boys.
Yeah, we're fake geek boys, and that's pretty clear.
Yeah. Where are my phony glasses?
Just trying to get all of that nerd money and nerd love or whatever fake geeks try and do.
Well, it's also not just because of the cosplay, it's also because Mirror's Edge 2 is coming out.
Oh, that's true. It is, that's a next-gen thing.
Mm-hmm.
Pixie can now appreciate the mysticism or the mystifiedness that all of us who have played the originals Mirror's Edge went through when they announced that Mirror's Edge 2 would be a reboot. Because it's like, there's not really any plot in the first one that they need to reset. It's a pretty minimalist universe they established.
More or less, it's kind of like they're reintroducing a new engine. It's like whenever Unreal comes out with a new engine, they make the Unreal Tournament. That's just kind of what it seems like, in retrospect.
Could be.
It's like this new game's gonna run off the Mirror's Edge engine.
Mirror's Edge seems like a good game to introduce a new console generation with, because it's guaranteed to look great without necessarily needing a lot of asset generation. So you don't need teams that are real good at next gen, because they just make white buildings, and then there's some yellow and some red, and it looks fabulous. But you don't
There's
really...
a little bit of blue in there, too. Yeah.
But...
And very saturated colors.
But you were mentioning something, Pixie, a while back about one of the problems with the game is that it's supposed to be very flowing, being able to move from spot to spot like parkour, but it wasn't really following through with that.
Yeah, no, I have some issues with this game, and I can't actually play it for more than one chapter at a time without getting so angry at it I have to go do something else. Because the fun part of the game is when you get like a really good momentum going. You're moving real fast and just traversing over stuff. It flows together really well.
Mm-hmm.
2 things screw that up. The combat, which sucks, and the enemies are overpowered, and I hate it. And the collectibles are kind of dumb and don't work into that mechanic. Just like any time where the way to progress through the story where I have to like kind of puzzle out how do I get out of this room kind of thing, it doesn't work because then I have to stop And then I just spend forever, like, kind of flinging myself at walls or whatever, trying to figure out what to do next. So it's just like, yeah, just anything that brings it to a halt or expects me to explore the environment really doesn't work in this game.
Yeah. You were making the comparison to, I don't remember what it was, to Assassin's Creed.
No, I think what I had said was that I wanted it to be like Assassin's Creed, and it
That's
wasn't.
what I meant. Yeah. Like, that Assassin's Creed actually had the idea of you can interact and climb onto literally anything, whereas...
This is a very linear path, and it seems like the literal point of parkour is to just adapt to being able to traverse over whatever is in your environment. Whereas it's just whatever happens to be highlighted red, that is where you go. You have one path that you are going along, and there's not room for any other creative solutions.
Yeah.
And I'm really annoyed by games with single solutions to puzzles.
Yeah, I don't have so much of a problem with the linearity. It's just when something
It's just
that's
my
so clear...
solution usually tends to not be the one that the game developers account for. Like, I never think of the one that's the developers consider obvious.
Especially for something like this, where it's clearly should be more open world, given the fact that it's parkour, and that's the exact point of it, is that you can go anywhere.
I feel like one of the main interactive mechanics of Assassin's Creed, and by the way, I think it's kind of funny that comparing Assassin's Creed and Mirror's Edge pretty much spans the genre of parkour games. It's like, Yep, that's the list.
There's a little, you could argue a little bit with Batman Arkham City. A little bit. If you're playing as Catwoman and not as Batman, because he can fly, so screw him.
And when you say Batman, that makes me think of Remember Me a little bit, insofar as it feels like there should be this open worldness, and there's not. It's like I kind of have these traversal abilities, but I can't use them in any exciting way because there's not a lot of paths.
Man, the really cool, awesome way that the combat flows together and the traversal of that huge environment in Arkham City, when you're playing as Catwoman specifically, is basically what I wanted. Just make that game. I know I've said that years ago, but...
Actually, yes, the Catwoman one is a very apt comparison there.
Yeah.
But I feel like one of the main interactivities of Assassin's Creed is figuring out which doodads, like which windowsills and pegs in the walls and loose bricks you can climb on, and plotting a path up a building based on that. And one of the things that makes that work pretty well is that it's super easy. Like, in most situations, holding the high profile button and pushing forward will get you what you want. You have to maneuver a little bit, but a lot of things will come automatically. Actually, I kind of want to compare that. Catwoman adds to Batman's traversal in Batman by adding basically mini timing events into most of the traversal sections. And that reminds me of, like, the switch from Final Fantasy to Super Mario RPG. And this may sound real dumb or, like, obscure, but with JRPGs, you hit your attack button and your character walks up to the enemy, smacks them in the face, and walks back to the line of combat. And Mario RPG made that more interactive by adding timed hits. So it's your character walks up to the enemy, and then you have to know the right section in the animation that you have to tap your OK button again to do extra damage. I guess Final Fantasy VIII did that also with the gunblades or whatever. But it's like Catwoman has Assassin's Creed traversal with just a little bit more interactivity, which I think is an improvement on it. But in all of those, you have a lot of different places you can go, you can see your feet, and you can get up any building pretty easily. None of which is true in Mirror's Edge. Everything is real hard, you can't see your feet, and there's only one correct path, and no deviations from it.
It took me a little bit to learn how to do jumps when I couldn't see my feet, because you don't look at your feet and you're from a first-person perspective in real life if you want to jump on something, but you also have the tactile feedback and sensory perception to know where your limbs are. Like, in a video game, it's video. It's visually, that's all of your information is delivered visually. So that's all you have to work with. And when you can't see your feet, you have no way of knowing where they are or how close they are to a ledge, and therefore how soon you need to jump that will get you across that gap versus just running straight off of it and falling to your death.
Because you want to jump at the very last minute, right? So that you get all the distance, and you don't necessarily know when the last minute is, except by running until you fall off, and then running and jumping too early and not making the jump, and just kind of trying over and over again, and dying a lot. Which would be okay if the checkpoints weren't so spaced far apart.
Yeah, which is another... Pyrison was listening to me play. I was on the phone with him at one point during a level or two. I got very angry at some parts where I kept missing jumps or would get shot while trying to make a jump, which is really aggravating, by the way, because I have no control over that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just I would be a lot more forgiving over finding difficulty with making that jump and dying a lot if it didn't put me like 3 minutes back instead of right where I was attempting to make the jump that I failed. And I can't make quick save points of my own. The autosave checkpoints are all you get. So that's really broken and doesn't work either.
Actually, I've been cruising a little bit of the
That was
game.
What was that game that Sen was playing a few weeks ago? Pyro, the one where you played as descendants of all your previous iterations.
Oh, Rogue Legacy.
Something about dungeon.
Rogue Legacy.
Yeah, there it was. I don't know why I got dungeon out of that.
It is a dungeon crawler. You go through dungeons.
Okay, I'm glad you managed to get where my brain was for that weirdness. Where you have permadeath in that game, but it's okay because you are literally immediately dropped in with another chance to go at it.
And like the essential example from this field is like Super Meat Boy, where you are literally expected to die 100 times a minute in the course of completing a level. And it's just, the controls are super tight, and you die constantly, but that's part of the gameplay. Whereas the fun part of Mirror's Edge is when you get long sequences of uninterrupted running. And so dying feels real bad, because it's like, oh, I'm not doing the fun thing anymore, I'm doing the not fun thing now.
Especially considering in some cases for different
once
games...
again, it's a big stop in the forward momentum in that action.
Mm-hmm. It's also a little bit disheartening given the fact that in some games you fall off the ledge and you plummet to your death and it just stops. But in this one, it continues, you see the ground getting closer, and then you actually hear the splat animation. That's lovely.
That got a little bit grotesque and kind of annoying as well. The bit where you see Faith flail her arms a bit, and then the ground comes up on you suddenly, and you hear the crunch of her bones hitting pavement. It was kind of gross.
Yeah, it just brought me back to Lara Croft and all the different ways they found to gruesomely show her death too, but that's something else. But that's a whole nother can of worms of its own.
That's actually almost, from a game design perspective, without considering social justice or whatever, the Lara Croft having lots of very gruesome deaths is more interactive than Faith's death, because there's only one death animation, which is your arms flail, the screen turns black, and you hear a sickening crunch that, like, literally makes you want to lose your lunch. Lara dies in a lot of different ways. So if you're in a different section, you see different assets. And that's kind of not true in Mirror's Edge. It's the same one animation for the whole game.
Actually, I got a quote here, just going on a slightly different tangent about this. I got a quote here from EA. I think the time is right now because we've got a creative idea. We have a great story planned. With all the Gen 4 technology, we can recreate that magic of running across rooftops and experiencing a city from a different point of view through the character of Faith. Performance, animation, all those technologies that are now in Gen 4, that extra computing power is going to be able to take Mirror's Edge to the next level. We've always been thinking about it, but a bunch of things came together. The right story, the right leadership, and the right capabilities of this new hardware. That's got us committed and go for it. The thing is, it's kind of like EA is trying to sound like James Cameron, that they've got this great idea, it's going to be amazing, we just have to wait for the technology to let us do it. That's what got me wondering here. What I don't really see what else they could have used, mechanics and hardware style in Mirror's Edge 1. I don't really see.
Yeah, no, Mirror's Edge was not pushing the technical limitations.
I will give you one thing that was a technical failing in Mirror's Edge.
Okay, astound me.
It needs more RAM. It really does. Because I'm playing it on a borrowed copy that you loaned me, Snake.
Yes.
On the Xbox 360.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep running into this problem where I will be running down a hall and the game stops on me. And it will be loading stuff. And I wouldn't mind so much that it's giving me a little bit of loading spin when I'm opening a door to transition from inside to outside where all the roofs and stuff are. I'll let that one go. But while I'm in the middle of running somewhere, no.
Okay,
that's unacceptable.
Do I remember this right? And did this also frustrate you, Pixie? Does Faith not have the ability to open a door if she walks up to the door? Can she only elbow through doors?
Well, she kicks them too.
Okay.
She absolutely hates doors.
It's a little bit of an annoyance to me that only certain glass is breakable as well. And other glass just is an invisible wall.
It's the dystopian future where we have invented concrete glass that protects all of the areas that are outside the map.
But there's some purists that still stick to typical glass.
It just happen to be all the mall windows and stuff you need to get through.
You see, that's what that's what she's really transporting, the secret to the origins of old-fashioned glass. She's a band of freedom fighters that believe in, real, honest-to-goodness, breakable glass, because that's the hard stuff just making it so hard for her and her parkour friends.
Well, this was a Roman concrete thing, is we knew the technology and then we lost it because there was some big social collapse, and now the secret is being revealed again.
Exactly. So there you go. There's a spoiler from Mirror's Edge 2. That's really what's going to happen. You're going to find the concrete glass mastermind and have to fight him. What the hell? What the hell are we talking about?
I don't know. You kind of got all weird on me.
Okay, Mirror's Edge has almost no plot, but there is one only tenuously interesting one-sentence plot event happens. That is the entire plot. That I don't think Pixie's quite gotten to this yet, but I almost want to talk about it anyway. How do you feel about this, Pixie?
Okay, so where I am is Faith's sister Kate has been set up for a murder, and we are chasing down the people who are responsible for setting her up, and there's a former pro wrestler and somebody who killed him. And then it turns out the cop that you were working with is dirty, and then there's, I don't know, maybe an ex-boyfriend of Faith's that shows up, and he's kind of a douche.
I remember absolutely none of this because it is all totally inconsequential.
Oh, well, that's where that was what I thought the story was. And I've only got 2 chapters left, so I don't know how they could possibly...
Sorry.
I've only got 2 chapters left. I don't know how they could possibly reframe the entire narrative from that.
Well, no, you were able to put it together better than me.
All right then.
So,
okay, is it just me, or I heard Merc's voice on, as the disembodied voice in your head that is telling you where to go and stuff. Yeah. I expected a black dude. Is that weird? I was kind of hoping, and then.
No, actually, I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. Actually, now that you mention it,
little animation bits. They're just I don't know.
I don't know exactly what I was expecting, but I was surprised when I did see Merc for the first time.
Absence of people of color in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, Faith is Asian, but her sister doesn't look like her. I don't know.
I don't know either.
So basically, the final chapter of the game is, Faith going and resolving all of the plot stuff, and I didn't actually beat Mirror's Edge. I got to the one interesting part where Merc dies, and it's wow, I'm kind of running through this level, and there's no narrator, and it feels super weird, because there always has been, but I guess that narrator was an in-universe element, and then Faith wants to avenge Merc, because they were friends, and
roommates and stuff.
So a male character was stuffed in a closet as the climactic motivation for a female character, which is exciting.
I believe the trope you're referencing is, fridged?
Fridged, indeed. Stuffed in a refrigerator, which is, like a closet, except it's cold. It's a cold closet.
I was gonna. It's got less connotations with repressed gayness.
Indeed.
Unless you're cold gay, but that doesn't make any sense.
That just relates to how inclined you are to wear jackets.
Being in the fridge is where the closeted penguins are.
Plotting to defeat that Batman.
I don't want people to know that I have poison pellets in my umbrellas.
Alright, how the heck did we get off on that tangent there?
You just got fridged!
Ugh, don't start that. Okay,
Oh,
but
you've
hang
been
on a second, hang on a
fridged,
second here.
bro.
There is one other thing I wanted to talk about here. I'm not sure if it's talked about before since I did mention Batman. Pixie, you showed me and pointed out how you like the idea in the new Batman Arkham Origins game that they're going to have a villain that's named Copperhead being played by who's female in this.
Yeah, previous iterations, Copperhead had always been a dude.
Mm-hmm.
And now in this one, she's like a very acrobatic, I don't know, mutant type villain. It used to be just a dude like with a suit with a tail on it who would like just punch people and choke them. So this seems much more interesting.
With the way comics tend to rewrite their entire canon nigh constantly, for example, in the New 52, Babs walks again. So they can change lots of fundamental things about their universe all the time. And
so Oracle's not in a wheelchair anymore?
there is no Oracle.
What?
Not since the reboot
I'm
of the
so
DC
confused.
universe. Because the killing joke never happened.
Oh, right.
They rewound everything.
Right.
It was a killing riddle, which wasn't really as effective.
But with how much they're willing to change everything all the time, taking like a dumb villain like Copperhead, who, you describing him as a dude with a snake tail who punches people sounds almost quaint in its dumbness. Like, oh, that's kind of cool how completely dumb this is.
That sounds like a rejected Spider-Man villain.
But in its place, they have found something, like, interesting. It's like, yeah, I'm into this. It's like a nimble lady who has a forked tongue and scales.
Claws, and she's got some kind of poison.
But it also brings up something rather interesting that Jennifer Hale, right? Commander Shepard, FemShep?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she brought up one time on an interview saying that some game designers should just consider, instead of making their character, just swapping their character's gender and just seeing what happens. So, I mean, obviously it's a villain, so it's not quite switching the protagonist's gender, but it seems like, that kind of same idea.
Why can't this character be a woman? Why not?
Really.
Just change everything all the time, including gender and race and everything else, because it's interesting to change things around. Especially...
And also, you seem to have one default setting, and it's freaking boring.
Yeah, exactly.
White, middle-aged, brown-haired men with the same build, and I'm bored. Do something different.
If you wanted to have ontological inertia, like if you were existing in this one strict canon and you really cared a lot about adhering to it all the time and not changing things, that would be one thing, but comics already change everything all the time, so this is a thing that is potentially interesting to change.
Yeah, it was kind of like that weird upcry for when Thor came out, and how they had one of the gods, what was his name? Heimdall being played by...
I think is his name? I'm not sure.
Yeah, being played by Idris Elba, or however you pronounce
Idris.
his name. Idris Elba, sorry. But I don't know how to pronounce names, worth crap. But how there was a bit of an uproar in the fact that, no, he can't be played by a black man. They were all white back then. And then he was on screen, and every time he was on screen, it was pure gold. It's like just try mixing things up a little bit, and it's
just like, they were all white back then. Because all of the people making the content were white back then and didn't question their privilege at all.
Exactly.
When Norwegians were fabricating creation myths in 200 BC or whatever, I was talking about
the comics even, but yeah, you have an excellent point here.
Did not imagine Heimdall being black, but they also did not imagine Thor fighting alongside Captain America, so... we don't really need to care what Norwegians thousands of years ago thought when they were making their creation myths.
Yeah, you gotta realize some things could use a bit of a refreshing reboot in some ways. Like I said, every time he was on screen in Thor, he was just phenomenal. He was amazing. He was one of my favorite parts of the film, and he was only on there for like a few minutes. So change a character from white to black, change a character from male to female. I mean, something like this, I would definitely encourage much more of. And that's why I'm hoping.
Change up everything. Black women.
Why not?
Yeah,
Have more.
just, Native Americans and Indians, and just like get all kinds of people to be in your content because, we have all of these people.
Get your Mexican rodents to run a sushi stand instead of a taco stand.
That is actually a plot point in the Turbo movie that I'm going to get to.
And there's our transition.
So, Turbo!
Yes, Turbo is a movie that came out.
Snake and I watched Turbo, and Pyrosim, did you know that the main source of conflict is two Mexican brothers trying to get their struggling taco stand business to work?
I did not know that this would be the main source of conflict. Like, I thought this was a movie about a fast snail.
Well, it is, but that's kind of the sub-point.
That's kind of the... That's the Deus Ex Machina that allows all of the other stuff to happen. Is that the Dos Bros Tacos is...
Which is an awesome name, by the way.
...struggling, and
If
they need money for a new
stand
stove.
named Dos Bros Tacos, I would feel compelled to open a competing taco stand across the street named Two Hermanos.
I don't speak Spanish, so I don't get it.
Hermanos is the Spanish word for brother.
Oh, okay then.
Oh, Hermanos is brothers, so yeah.
You have to pick a language and stick with it. You can't just change your language in the middle of a name. It has to be the Buick's Grand Prix or the Buick's Grand Prix. You have to pick.
Anyway, Turbo.
So,
but yes.
So yeah, the whole point is this snail is for some reason obsessed with racing and being fast, and then he leaves home and is disgraced, leaves home, and I guess we're gonna just spoil his whole movie.
Well, let's try not to spoil everything here because I do like this movie, so I don't.
Okay, so he somehow gets superpowers that let him go fast and has other car-like properties.
The thing about this, the thing
he gets bumped
really...
into and makes car alarm noises and.
I definitely didn't see that coming, but
yeah,
you can definitely see this is kind of almost. You can definitely see a lot of DreamWorks and Pixar are trying to do call and answer to each other with their movie ideas at times. And DreamWorks had How to Train Your Dragon, Pixar had Brave, and it almost seems like it's different ideas, but you definitely know they're related. This almost seems like their answer to Ratatouille and Cars.
So yeah, this is kind of weird that one of the brothers, God, I can't remember their names for anything, because they don't say each other's names much at all. I'm gonna look this up real quick.
One of the bros. One of the Dos Bros.
Uno Bros.
Uno Bros, correct.
One is Tito. I think Tito's the main one.
Heh, Teat.
Yeah, Tito, yes. Tito is his name.
And the other one is Bubo.
So, is it Tito and is the other one Angelo, or...?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. I remember Tito, voiced by Michael Pena.
Yes, indeed. But yes, they are the...
So, Tito is the younger brother, and he basically drives the truck. And Angelo is the chef, taco artist. I don't know how you want to go about that.
No, apparently he's a very good taco maker. It's just people don't know what he can do.
And also they have a really terrible location in this, totally dead strip mall. So
yeah, there's a few other shops that are doing bad also. So again, right out of Cars, it's like Radiator Springs.
Pretty much. And then... their crappy old stove goes out. He's all okay, well, we need 1, advertising to get people here, and 2, we need money for a new stove. And apparently they have this hobby, Tito, and then the other failing business owners. Angelo's all very serious face and we gotta I'm just gonna work on my tacos and do that. And he's the serious older brother that's all only work. You're doing dumb stuff. None of your crazy harebrained schemes are going to work kind of person. And apparently in their spare time they race snails. They just grab some regular snails and put them on a line and place bets on them because they're bored. So Tito happens upon Turbo, and yeah, he's all like, hey, we've got this super-powered snail. I'm gonna take him and try and use him I'm going to sponsor him with all of our life savings from our crappy little business for the registration fee, and put him in the Indy 500, and with the winnings, one, the novelty of racing a snail will draw people to our business because it's free advertising. Well, not free, but you know what I mean. And then also the money will allow us to buy better stuff.
Mm-hmm. And that's how,
that is the whole premise of the conflict, which you would not know at all from the advertising, because Tito and Angelo are not in it at all. None of the human characters are in it at all, actually. It's just a bunch of snails.
Or if they are, they're just all in the background stuff. But that's the whole setup you really need to know, and I don't think we want to spoil the whole thing, because again, I liked it.
So okay, that's my best version of a TLDR.
It's man finds fast snail, wants to race him in the Indy 500. Hilarity ensues.
Wacky hijinks.
Yes, indeed. But,
the advertising for sponsoring Turbo in the Indy 500 is free, the way the PlayStation Plus Instant Library is free.
It's the free things that you paid for, yes.
It's free after you pay for it.
Uh-huh.
So, are there any cars in this movie?
Oh yes, there are definitely cars.
They straight up go to the Indy 500, and they are at the IMS.
These are not.
And we were able to point out, like, we drove through here, and we sat over there, and it's kind of weird, actually.
As a native from Indianapolis, I can definitely say they did their homework. And DreamWorks actually came down and shot to get, angles for their animation.
You can get, kind of a sense of the scope of the thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because first of all, they got the skyline down. Whenever you're coming to Indianapolis and downtown, the most notable thing we have is the Chase Tower, the tallest building we've got. It's a very tall tower with just two antennas at the top, but it's one of the most notable things you can see. Yep, that's the Indianapolis skyline for what we have as a skyline. But when you actually when they take it to the speedway, to the actual racetrack, I can point out so much of the stuff they've got right down to a T. They've got all the sounds of the cars right. They've got Gasoline Alley where all the drivers drive out from their garages to go out onto the track. They even have the right spot where all the cars drive under the track before they come out into the middle. They've got the placement board, that tall black tower. It's spot on. So as a native of Indianapolis, I endorse their representation of what it looks like.
But Turbo doesn't drive a car, right?
No, he's got superpowers, remember?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's part of the fun too, trying to show how they actually endorse that. And in true blue wacky kids movie style, if you're familiar with Air Bud, there's no rule that says a snail can't race in the Indy 500.
Tell me they say that line.
Oh, they do.
Totally do.
Oh, I feel so good about that.
Yeah, if nothing else, you want to go see it just to hear someone say there's no rule that says a snail can't ride in the can't participate in the Indy 500. It's worth it just to hear that line.
Okay, that pleases me.
Mm-hmm.
But
also you get to see Samuel L. Jackson as a crazy black snail.
Like, they literally color him black. He's not, just saying that to be weird.
Mm-hmm. Also, Ryan Reynolds and Paul Giamatti are brothers in this movie too.
They have one lady snail in it, Byrne, who is just obsessed with making Turbo's brother her boyfriend, so she really serves no purpose, so boo.
Admittedly, yes, there is not a very good representation of women in this movie, go figure.
You've got Paz, voiced by Michelle Rodriguez, who is awesome.
It's Michelle Rodriguez as an anime kid. That's basically what they did. She kicked ass.
She runs her own auto body shop, and eventually has employees, and...
Spoiler, but yes.
Yeah, no, she's cool.
You want to have an awesome female character, you can't do much worse or much better than her. Sorry, much better.
But Turbo especially doesn't drive a car that has a large S painted on the side, right?
No, I'm sorry to say that the line you wanted to hear did not appear in this movie.
And then nobody responds to the fact that this car, with this S on it, is going real fast. By shouting, "Look at that S car go."
I'm sorry to say you will be disappointed if you were looking for that line.
I feel like that was the whole premise of the movie. Like,
you realize there was no indication that he drove a car at any point.
I know there wasn't, but oh man. I feel like that's how you come up with this when you're brainstorming in the writer's room. Is Battleship came about because it's like, what if we made a movie with the Battleship brand? And then a Fast Snail movie came about because somebody had a book of kids' jokes and was like, let's turn this kids' joke into a movie. But there was one replacement pun, so let's go out on that, because I like it.
Oh, yeah, Byrne does say snailed it at one point.
Snailed it!
Oh yes, and the animation all around is pretty solid. It's there
is a kind of, okay, I'll admit, really racist depiction of like a tiny little Asian lady who, of course, runs a nail salon.
Yes, there's a bit of a problem there, yeah.
Somehow that feels slimier to me than the fact that the Mexicans are running a taco stand.
Well, that just...
Like, the taco stand seems not as bad, and then the Asian lady running the nail salon seems worse. I don't
there's a certain food is from certain places, you know.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, yes,
like,
I ate this
corn tortillas
in my
are
childhood.
from Central America.
My mother cooked these. That is like, I can't have this relationship with this food. As Asians running nail salons, not really like a deep cultural thing. It's just, these are the jobs that we put our immigrants to because they don't necessarily require people to not be racist against you, or for you to have a degree or whatever.
I don't even know who did her voice.
I don't even know what her name is to look that up.
Yeah, I'm not seeing her anywhere here on this. Although I am seeing something rather amusing. Mario Andretti does do two voices in here.
That's kind of funny.
For those of you who do not know, Mario Andretti's kind of big in the racing circuit. Look him up. He's a Dos Bros customer and one of the race officials.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Always gotta get a little inside fun there. Also, Snoop Dogg has a part in here.
Tell me it says a dog.
No, it says a snail.
Oh, okay.
He's kind of this trippy snail who acts like he's stoned most of the time. I don't know how else to put that.
And his name is Smooth Move. That's really his name. I don't know how else to put that. Yeah, so there you go. If you want to see a movie where Ryan Reynolds and Paul Giamatti are snail brothers, Samuel L. Jackson, Snoop Dogg, and a few others are snails, and Michelle Rodriguez is a kick-ass auto worker, then go see Turbo. It's quite awesome.
So I feel like I'm sort of eating my words, because on a previous show, I said I don't see any exciting movies coming up, and Turbo sounds amazing. And Wolverine was also quite good. I didn't have high expectations for Wolverine, but if you haven't seen any movies recently, I could easily recommend that you go see 2 this week. Wolverine is weirdly like a very direct sequel to X-Men The Last Stand.
Sorry, just had a bit of a chill there.
Like, there was this chain of movies, X-Men, named X-Men, that came out in 2000, but I always call it X-Men parentheses 2000 as if that were its name, because that's not a bad name. That was a good movie. And then there's X2, and then X-Men The Last Stand, which is the third in that trilogy, and came out in like 2006. This picks up very, very directly where that left off, with the fact that Wolverine has just mercy killed Jean Grey, and is trying to emotionally come to terms with this fact. And
because Jean Grey in every iteration always dies.
Always. It's like...
There, she's the her job is to be inside that refrigerator, damn it.
Exactly.
She rents out timeshares from a condo in there.
One of her mutant powers is to remain warm, even though she spends all her time inside of a refrigerator.
Yeah, she has like a little hot tub in there, so she's rented out space to some people too. But you saying that, Pyro, that kind of makes me a little disappointed, considering the fact that X-Men 3 had kind of been written into oblivion thanks to X-Men First Class.
Well,
only
is
certain
that
parts
true?
of it had been.
Because what contradicts X3 and X-Men First Class?
Okay, I guess First Class really contradicts more of Origins. More
I'm gonna
Origins
look here,
Wolverine.
because there's probably some continuity stuff on the First Class.
Well,
hang on a second. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, what?
fortunately,
Brief
comics
cameo by
movies...
Daniel's mom.
Edit that
Brief
out.
removed cameo from Daniel's mom.
Okay, because you're calling me Daniel, not Snake.
Roger.
Who is Roger?
Over.
Anyway.
Fortunately, comics movies can just exist with conflicting canons in parallel in the box office at the same time, apparently, and that's fine. But
well, I can tell you right now what one of the things that contradicts with X-Men 3 with First Class is that in First Class, Charles Xavier gets crippled at a younger age, whereas in the third one, in X-Men whatever the third one was, he's still in his older age. When he's Patrick Stewart, he's still walking.
Oh yeah, you're right. And so that means that we have to throw out X-Men 2002, which is a shame, because X-Men 2000 is really quite good. Although it seems like they're not going to do that. I think they're just going to let those things coexist, despite the fact that they contradict each other, and I think that's probably fine. I think that just works well.
X-Men 2000?
Yeah, the one where Magneto was like, I'm gonna turn everybody into mutants, and then Xavier was like, hey dude, your method for turning people into mutants also causes them to melt like 24 hours later. And Magneto was like, whatever, we don't worry about those details.
Oh, the first X-Men, okay, I'm just thinking the one with... Never mind, keep going.
But The Wolverine is the story of a woman who has two boyfriends meeting Wolverine, and then Wolverine becomes her third boyfriend.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
What?
I found a bit in the IMDb trivia. Though ostensibly a prequel to the entire X-Men film franchise, this movie deliberately ignores continuity points of X-Men The Last Stand and X-Men Origins Wolverine. Matthew Vaughn explained his intention was to make a good film that could stand on its own 2 feet regardless of all the other films, and also that could reboot and start a whole new X-Men franchise. Writer Jane Goldman looked at the film as an alternate history for the X-Men, though a reboot, the writers did not want to go fully against the canon of the X-Men trilogy, citing the various approaches the comic had in over 50 years of publication.
So basically...
They were just like... kind of. They were just like, this is just a movie that we made and not actually gonna tie into any of that stuff.
Whatever,
okay.
Whatever, I do what I want.
Just sleep now, little baby. Don't you worry your pretty little head.
Okay, creep me out right now, Pyro.
But, okay, Wolverine is an excellent movie wearing a mediocre movie as a coat. For the first 30 minutes of watching Wolverine, I felt like I was watching the trailer. And the trailer can only have been like 3 or 4 minutes long. But it hit all of the plot points of the first 30 minutes. But like the last hour and a half were quite good. There was like a couple of the standard bad movie-making things that annoyed me. Which is at one point, a character called Wolverine a Ronin, comma, a samurai without a master. And they say it that way with quotes, with the definition after it. And it's like, okay, I would have felt better if you didn't define it there. I mean, I realize that not all of the audience is going to already know what Ronin means, but this is the first time you've used the word. It would be nicer if you didn't define it, because we're smart enough to just figure it out from context, but it's okay on the first time. And then they refer to it again, and they define it again. And it's like, no, we remember that. That was 20 minutes ago. I don't need to speak Japanese to remember that you already defined that word 20 minutes ago. But there are female characters with significant agency on both the good side and the bad side, both in terms of the plot and their personal destinies. There is significant changes to the universe of this continuity that kind of seem to matter because it's carrying on this trilogy that started with X-Men 2000. Even if X-Men The Last Stand was terrible, they do a thing that feels impactful towards the end of this movie that changes the universe. There is a stinger that consists of Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen walking up to Wolverine and being like, hey, both us, Magneto and Xavier, need you to work with us so that we can stop a bad thing from happening. So there is going to be another movie that consists of Magneto and Xavier working together.
You know what would have happened if X-Men wasn't still part of Fox? You would have had Magneto and Xavier going up to Wolverine. I'd like to speak to you about the Avenger Initiative. Sorry,
man, I feel conflicted about that because obviously moving the X-Men universe into the Marvel universe that has not missed a beat yet would be amazing. but I kind of like this existing X-Men universe. I want both of them. Can I have both of them, please? Just have two separate conflicting X-Men universes.
We are checking out right now, young man. You only get to have one franchise the way it is.
But I want to have a cake.
No. See, that little boy didn't get a cape, and he's just fine.
And then, this movie does a thing that I just absolutely love when movies do, which is that, okay, minutes 30 to an hour and 15 consist of a whole bunch of setups for things that are going to happen later that you don't notice as setups at the time. There's just like background elements happening that you notice but don't pay too much credit to that turn out to be really important later in ways where you feel like, yeah, that makes sense that this was important. I didn't understand it at the time, but yeah, a Deus Ex Machina is when a big plot point happens without any setup and it feels like it comes from nowhere and there's no justification for it. But a whole lot of universe-changing plot happens late in this movie, and it was all set up very cleverly, and that just made me love this movie a lot. Plus, Hugh Jackman is naked several times.
Okay, so there's that.
That reminds me of like my favorite scene in The Avengers. Where,
with the janitor when he crashes through the roof.
No, actually, it's very early on where Steve Rogers and Nick Fury are talking, and Steve Rogers is like, I won't be surprised if the world isn't stranger. Nick Fury bets him $10, and then they cut to he's on the SHIELD helicarrier, and then it flies, and then Captain America just hands Nick Fury $10.
I feel so embarrassed
and they don't say anything, and it was great.
Exactly.
I feel so embarrassed because the first time I forgot about that. The first time I saw Avengers, I totally forgot about the $10
You're just like, why is he paying him money? I don't get it.
It wasn't until the second time I watched it that I got, oh wait, that's brilliant.
But see, that's kind of why it's so good, is that they're willing to let you miss that joke if you're not paying close enough attention, which is why the defining the word Ronin thing feels so bad. It's because...
It's just like, in case you got up and went to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like 90% of your audience can figure it from context.
Like those stupid apps that people have on their phones telling them when they can go pee. It's like, just go to the bathroom before and then hold it for 2 hours.
And those 10%...
Don't use your dang phone! Oh my god.
Phone users in movies. Of course, I would rather not see a movie in a theater and therefore not face this problem, but if you are seeing a new movie, don't annoy the people around you.
Dude, I've watched you use a phone in the theater.
I totally have, and in my defense, it was mostly
you think you're being
bad
subtle,
movies.
you're not. Just don't do it. The light is annoying.
Fair enough. I am guilty. But for the 10% that are not going to be able to figure out Ronin from context, it is not worth catering to them when you are going to make the 90% have less fun because you're treating them like idiots.
Fair point.
I would say even that, one, you could probably let people figure it out within context, or two, can't it just be a thing that people think is a nonsense made-up word? Like,
it
just
totally
a name
could be.
for a thing? Like, that's just what this organization is called.
It would absolutely work if people did not even think it was a real word and had no prior context for it. The movie would still function very well.
Fair enough. Sorry, I have nothing else to add to that.
Hugh Jackman gets his junk scrubbed by a shriveled old Asian lady with, like, a broom. He's in a old-fashioned tub, and the lady has a broom. She's like, we're cleaning you up to see this rich guy. I'm just gonna shove this broom down into the water and just start scrubbing.
Living the dream there, man. Living the dream.
That sounds awful. Not even, like, the age of the woman is not, like, even a factor in this thing, but, like, no, that's not what makes it horrible. The idea of bristles on your genitals being roughly scrubbed with a broom handle is what sounds horrible.
He has a healing factor.
Well, even if you could heal from that, even if you can heal back from that, it's still not going to be pleasant.
It's still not pleasant, yeah. It's just rough and horrible.
Wolverine is pretty good. I recommend that most people go see it. I feel like I could take just Adobe Premiere and cut like 20 minutes out of this movie to make it a much, much better movie. There's a very good movie inside of it.
You say that about everything. You literally say that about every movie.
Yeah, that'd be very fun to do, come to think of it.
Go into a bunch of movies
and cut certain scenes out and then replay and see if it work. Take Spider-Man 3 and cut out the dance sequence.
According to Sen, that works a lot better that way, because he didn't realize it was a terrible movie, because he went to the bathroom during that part.
That's exactly why I made that reference. But yeah, there are probably those certain times you have, if you just cut out this one section here, it'll be so much better. So, that is quite surprising to hear. I was not really interested in seeing that, but hearing what you said here, Pyro, I might need to reconsider.
I was not optimistic, and I was very pleasantly surprised. And I'm excited for the next movie as a result of how good this one was.
Okay, because that's surprising, because after seeing Origins, I was ready for the Earth to implode on itself, so that's promising.
Well, I mean, so that's good. Mm-hmm. Got a little bit more than we bargained for out of that.
So we didn't even turn up super short on time for this show.
No, so what kind of movies are what kind of movies and games are up on the horizon?
I have been playing the crap out of Shadowrun Returns. But it is very new, so I would like to give people some time to play that.
I have a lot to say about Shadowrun Returns. We all will when we talk about it.
The skinny on it, if you happen to be curious for my take, is that it is freaking excellent, and I'm only going to be sad that there isn't more content in it, because I'm going to blow through it that quickly. But I haven't been this sucked into a game since KOTOR.
Both Shadowrun Returns...
In a way that I wasn't even during Mass Effect.
That's quite impressive. I'll need to take a look at that sometime then. But what else have we got on the horizon?
What were you saying, Pyro, about Shadowrun?
Both Shadowrun Returns and KOTOR feel mechanically like somebody sat down at a computer with a pretty good Shadowrun campaign or a pretty good Star Wars D20 campaign and the source books for that tabletop role-playing game and just turned that into a computer program. Like exactly as using the materials you would use if you were going to do this at a kitchen table, they made it into a video game.
And that's what's so good about it, I think, is that this totally feels like I'm in a role-playing game. It's definitely got that... What?
Sorry, you scared me. I was getting quiet.
Snake, you're weird.
Yes, I am.
But we're going to all beat Shadowrun Returns and then talk about it in depth once we've done that.
Very true. Let's take a little quick look at what's coming up soon. August 9th, we got Elysium coming out.
Brad Pitt in it?
I don't think Brad Pitt's in that.
I think a buddy of mine wanted to invite us to that, but I'll be in Indy preparing for Gen Con at that point, so...
Right, it's Matt Damon.
It's Matt Damon versus Jodie Foster, and who wouldn't pay to see that? In all seriousness, though, this movie looks awesome.
Brad Pitt and Matt Damon are kind of similar. Kind of.
Sure they are.
A little bit.
Not at all,
okay,
really.
What else we got? We got Disney's Planes.
That premise makes me stagger from just the notion that somebody in some writer's room was like, okay, we start with cars, and then we do the same thing slightly differently.
Yeah, this continues on. I'm going to start cringing when we get to, like, submarines.
I'm going to go ahead and veto Smurfs 2.
Oh,
agreed.
No.
That's coming out this week.
Why is there a second Smurfs? Why was there a first Smurf movie? That was not necessary.
They needed to have Katy Perry as Smurfette.
Yeah, I don't really know what that's all about. It's sad, really. Not to mention the fact there were so many poop jokes in the trailer. And by so many, I mean one, which is one more than they needed. But yes, I will second your veto of that movie.
Because, that opened.
What else? We got Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters.
The first Percy Jackson movie was alright. It wasn't the worst. It wasn't super good, but it was not like poop on a page.
Okay, that's good to know at least. And another movie coming out on August 9th. That's when all these other movies are coming out. We got We're the Millers.
Never heard of it.
It's where a guy has to has to put together a fake family so he can get drugs across the border. And he hires a stripper, played by Jennifer Aniston, to be his wife. And 2 kids to be, his teenage kids. So, a veteran pot dealer creates a fake family as part of his plan to move a huge shipment of weed into the U.S. from Mexico.
It sounds like I want to watch the trailer on it and then form an opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole concept kind of seems like Meet the Fockers comes together with Vegas Vacation or something like that.
Two Guns is a trailer that I've been seeing a lot that doesn't appeal to me very much. You guys have any thoughts on the Two Guns trailer?
Not particularly. I mean, I'm not that particularly interested in it.
I feel like it's been in a lot of places, like a lot of money is behind it, but doesn't make me want to see the movie. By contrast, I had zero interest in the original Despicable Me, but every time I see the advertising for Despicable Me 2, and I'm probably like behind the curve on this is probably out, but
Yeah, it's been out. It was like a month ago that our friends went and saw it.
There is a lot of advertising for it, and all of it makes me want to go see that movie.
So go see it. Nobody's stopping you.
Is that
Should. I want to do that.
Okay, so there you go. Pyro's gonna go see Despicable Me 2, and then the rest of us will do some stuff. That seems like a good bombshell to end on, right? And yes, I am stealing from Top Gear.
Boom.
Sorry.
Anywho.
I didn't know what else to add.
I have a thing here. I'm reading the plot summary of The Smurfs 2 for reasons.
Ow.
But this sentence here, I feel like you need to hear. Will Smurfette, who has always felt different from the other Smurfs, find a new connection with blah blah blah? Do you know why she's always felt different? Because she's the only girl for no reason.
This sounds... Okay, I'm gonna pitch you a plot for a Smurfs movie, which is, there is a whole society full of female Smurfs that has one male Smurf in it, and we have to unite the tribes.
Actually, you want to hear a fun one? Listen to this premise of The Smurfs 2. The Smurfs team up with their human friends to rescue Smurfette, who's been kidnapped by Gargamel, since she knows a secret spell that can turn his evil sorcerer's new creation calls Naughties, yes, that's really what they're called, into the real Smurfs.
So that he can harness their magic blue superpowers for some reason. I don't know.
Wait, this is just the quintessential Smurf plot. Like, this is the overarching continual conflict of the Smurf universe with no changes.
Except now it's with real people and CGI. And poop jokes. So yes,
I was waiting for, and I'm the conductor of the poop train and was disappointed when it did not show up.
Sorry, I can't shout right now. It's late.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in the first one, you got Smurfette feeling alienated, and then in the Smurfs 2, you got her being kidnapped. Why? Because she's a girl. And that's what girls do.
It's true.
I just thought it would be funny to point out that Smurfette has always felt different because you didn't decide to make any other female characters.
Well, in the cartoon, that was the original point. Gargamel was actually created Smurfette to create discord and chaos in the Smurf community, because
Which
until
also
then,
sounds deeply misogynistic.
Yeah, really, because all of the Smurfs are supposed to be men. Smurfette was actually created specifically to create unrest and unruliness.
I did not expect this to get more offensive, and then you started explaining things, and then I got more offended.
All I'm wondering is how the hell did this get greenlit in the first place in the 21st century?
Because for some reason people have attached nostalgic value to this. To this stupid property.
If you're going to do that, then get something else.
Let's see, and then they put the nostalgia goggles on things that they watched that were messed up and terrible when they were children, and then insist that their children also watch it, and so this happens.
In that case, do a live-action reboot
you forget,
of Voltron.
People who were growing up watching that now have kids.
Yeah, we're doomed. We're all doomed.
And so this is ploying to them.
Goody.
Bring your kids to our movie. It has poop jokes in it.
Blue poop.
Jeez.
I'm making myself depressed now, guys.
We need to end on a more upbeat note.
At least if you were pooping in an airplane toilet, you wouldn't know if it got all over everything. Wait, this isn't a good thing.
I'm getting bummed again. Oh, I know.
Shadowrun Returns is really awesome.
Heck yeah, Shadowrun Returns is really awesome.
Oh, I know. The guys from Rift Tracks. The guys from Rift Tracks are going to be doing Rift Tracks live to Starship Troopers come August 15th.
It seems kind of weird that they would do that, because you would think because, like, Starship Troopers isn't exactly taking itself seriously. It's already making jokes.
But it takes itself just serious enough, though.
No, Starship Troopers is like a really good and a really smart movie based on a book that took itself extremely seriously. The book was like, yeah, go fascism, go big armies, that's what we need in order to make society function. And then the movie was like, okay, we're going to license this book and then just do something that the author is going to completely hate with it. And it's a pretty good movie.
But yes, the guys at Rift Tracks wanted to do a live-action Rift Tracks live to Twilight, but by doing a Kickstarter. But apparently, the people over there weren't quite ready for that. So they went down on the next list of their most wanted to Rift movies, and Starship Troopers was next.
Oh, that sounds appealing. I'm surprised that you would do a Rift Tracks on that already silly and good movie, but I'm optimistic. I want to listen to that.
Oh, it's quite good. It'll actually be showing in certain theaters. They'll be broadcasting their riff on different screens across the country. So yeah,
have to check my local listings.
Mm-hmm. It's on August 15th. Look for Rift Tracks Live. I'm a big fan of their work because I grew up with MST3K, and that helped me develop my sense of humor.
Which is like 3 decades older than your age, really.
Well, still.
I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying this is a quirk you have.
Good humor knows no age limit. You can quote me on that. Put it on a t-shirt, a bumper sticker.
We have the technology to do that.
Isn't that freaky?
Print on demand. It is super weird.
Okay, I think
you could make a t-shirt with literally anything on it.
Okay, I think we're just randomly ranting now.
At one point, I got a paperback novel printed just because I could. Like, it didn't have anything interesting inside of it. I just put together some junk text and got it printed in paperback novel form because I had that option.
Okay.
Alrighty.
I think we need to stop now before we go on.
Save us, Pixie.
Yes, please stop us. There's gonna be so much
And
that be
on
taken
that
out.
note, I'm Pixie.
I'm Pyrosim.
And I'm Snake. Protect your rats.
And you've been listening to Nerd Talk.